Hi, it's Marcus here from bsvsearch.com. When most people think of Bitcoin, they think of BTC, the version of Bitcoin that's trading at around $40,000 per coin on exchanges. And it is widely assumed that this BTC is the same Bitcoin that's renowned in the Bitcoin white paper. It's a vision of a digital cash system characterized by low cost, speedy, and efficient transactions. But the reality, as this video will reveal, is strikingly different. Since its inception in 2009, Bitcoin's journey has been a tumultuous one. Initially hailed as a revolutionary financial and monetary technology, it was poised to disrupt traditional financial institutions and empower individuals with a digital cash system. Yet as we delve into Bitcoin's history, a narrative of hijacking unfolds, a story of how BTC, commonly mistaken as the real Bitcoin, has been co-opted by the very industries it sought to challenge. This video chronicles how BTC, now being passed off as Bitcoin, has strayed far from the original path charted in the Bitcoin white paper. 2024 is a pivotal year in the saga of Bitcoin, as one man, Craig Wright, confronts those who have endeavored to take over the Bitcoin project. His legal battle is not just a fight for recognition that he is Satoshi Nakamoto, but a crusade to preserve the foundational vision and mission of Bitcoin. And this mission, as Wright asserts it, is to facilitate legal, global e-commerce transactions that are swift, cost-effective, reliable, and true to Bitcoin's original intent. And through this lens, we explore the depths of Bitcoin's evolution, the forces that have shaped it, and the ongoing struggle to keep its original dream alive. The Bitcoin white paper was published on October 31, 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto. The Bitcoin protocol was formally initiated on January 3, 2009 by mining the first block known as the Genesis block by Satoshi Nakamoto. This event marked the start of Bitcoin's operations, and Satoshi Nakamoto released the original version of the Bitcoin protocol, Bitcoin 0.1.0, on January 9, 2009. It is essential to point out that in this version, no block size limit was explicitly made. The 1 megabyte limit was introduced later by Satoshi Nakamoto as a temporary measure against spam transactions. He even explicitly provided an instruction as to how it can be expanded before the Bitcoin network became congested. Since the release, Satoshi Nakamoto has sought assistance from developers like Gavin Andresen and engaged in online discussions with other developers. Notably, Satoshi Nakamoto never appeared in person. It didn't take long, though, for people with various interests to start using Bitcoin because they thought it would provide them anonymity. On June 15, 2011, Wikileaks, a whistleblowing platform, began accepting BTC donations. On December 5, 2010, Satoshi posted on a forum expressing the view that the Bitcoin project should grow gradually to strengthen its software. He appealed to Wikileaks, discouraging them from using Bitcoin at that early age. Satoshi characterized Bitcoin as a small beta community, still in its infancy, and cautioned that the potential attention that Wikileaks might attract could be detrimental, as they would not gain more than modest sums of money. Additionally, the increased scrutiny could jeopardize Bitcoin's development at that early phase. In his court testimony in 2019, Craig Wright explained his decision in 2010 to distance himself from his pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto and Bitcoin. Apart from Wikileaks, he cited the emergence of early Bitcoin users engaging in the funding of terrorism and the creation of darknet markets like Silk Road and Hydra as a significant factor in his decision. Silk Road was designed to sell heroin, MDMA, fentanyl, weapons, etc. Marty also started working on a reputation system to allow assassination markets. They started actually working on a system designed to allow people to fund terrorism, and others who were involved, such as Amir, went to Syria to promote the idea of Bitcoin as a funding mechanism. Hydra was worse than Silk Road. The nature of Hydra that Tamos wanted was a mechanism to have children exchange hard drugs for pornographic photographs. They thought to alter Bitcoin to allow the distribution of encrypted child pornography that would be exchanged in schools for fentanyl and other such drugs. I stopped mining because of that reason completely in August 2010. Craig Wright then continues to say that he proceeded to remove anything that would link him to being Satoshi Nakamoto, the inventor of Bitcoin. Quoting Craig Wright, "At that point, I brought in Dave Klein because he was a friend and he knew who I was, and he was a forensic expert, and I wanted to wipe everything I had to do with Bitcoin from the public record. I had money put aside from operations concerning casinos that I was involved with and had a large amount of money overseas, and I spent that buying other assets in Bitcoin to work on fixing the problems that I'd created." Satoshi Nakamoto entrusted Bitcoin to Gavin Andresen, granting him access to the Bitcoin repository, which contained the code for the Bitcoin protocol. Bitcoin Core serves as the implementation of the Bitcoin protocol used in BTC, and over time, Gavin Andresen recruited additional contributors to join those who could contribute to Bitcoin Core's development. These individuals became known as Bitcoin Core developers. They were responsible for overseeing the evolution of Bitcoin Core. Subsequently, control over Bitcoin.org, which was initially overseen by Satoshi, transitioned to other members of the Bitcoin community. Gavin Andresen was eventually locked out of the Bitcoin repository after an event where he expressed belief, after meeting with Craig Wright in person, that Craig Wright is the inventor of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. From then on, the Bitcoin repository underwent a significant shift in its hosting platform, moving from SourceForge to GitHub. And during this transition, the copyright designation was altered, changing from Satoshi Nakamoto to the Bitcoin Core developers. It's important to note that this change occurred without any payments made to Satoshi Nakamoto, nor was there ever an explicit permission granted by Satoshi Nakamoto for the Bitcoin Core developers to take over the ownership over the Bitcoin project. If we check Satoshi's last forum post, there's a link there showing where he released the Bitcoin source code and binaries. When we go to that link, we can indeed confirm that the Bitcoin files had been relocated at least on or before June 5, 2015. Around 2013, a mysterious individual named John Dillon emerged on Bitcoin forums. He engaged in private communications with Bitcoin developers. From a forum post by Peter Todd, the Bitcoin developer who had contact with John Dillon, he shared that Dillon wrote that he works for an intelligence agency and he held a high position, but wanted to remain anonymous. One of John Dillon's primary advocacies was limiting the block size to 1 megabyte. He demonstrated his commitment to this cause by offering financial support to Bitcoin developer Peter Todd to create a video titled "Why the Block Size Limit Keeps Bitcoin Free," and decentralized. And this video was subsequently published on YouTube on May 17, 2013. It's worth examining the purpose behind this video, because even a decade later, individuals who advocate for Bitcoin to maintain a small 1 megabyte block size continue to present similar arguments. Starting at the 50-second mark in the video, it acknowledges that when block size is small, transaction fees will become more expensive. The most logical thing to do is to increase the block size of Bitcoin. However, the narrator says, if we did that, the miners who process transactions would need to become bigger, making it more difficult for them to operate anonymously. Mining pools will be forced to close due to rising costs of regulations. What's left would be large, powerful, regulated pools controlling what transactions happen at all.
As you know, Bitcoin has become very popular. Unfortunately, supply and demand will cause fees to increase over time, which means small value transactions just won't be practical. The easy thing to do is just have everyone change their software to accept bigger blocks all at once. Fees would go down, but you will need an expensive data center to run a node, and you won't be able to do it anonymously. Mining pools will be forced to close due to rising costs and regulations. What's left are large, powerful and regulated pools controlling what transactions happen at all.
The underlying rationale behind this argument is that larger blocks could lead to larger miners, which in turn might attract regulatory attention. And while the video portrays this as a negative outcome, it's important to note that regulation often aims to prevent significant corporations from abusing their power. John Dillon's focus appears to be on preserving transaction anonymity rather than reducing transaction costs. So, in response to these types of argument, Craig Wright, Satoshi Nakamoto, clarified that he designed Bitcoin to have large blocks processed by mining operations that could not maintain anonymity. The importance lies in ensuring that miners are identifiable so that legal action can be taken against them in case of cheating or malicious attacks on the system. Governments and courts can then seize their assets and shut them down if they fail to comply. This system ensures that miners remain honest and they protect their substantial capital investments that's required to set up their mining operations. Craig Wright believes that anonymity is an environment where crime and evil thrive. In his article titled "The False Lure of Anonymity," Craig Wright wrote, "An anonymous system will never be scaled to the world. At best, an anonymous system forms a methodology for black markets and illicit and illegal trade. I was never interested in creating dark web money. Bitcoin needed to be private and yet easy to stop or control such that illegal and illicit activity could be stopped at scale. Bitcoin was designed to ensure privacy and utterly destroy anonymity. It is an important distinction. Anonymity is the realm of cowards and those without courage. It is utterly different to privacy. Private transactions involve individuals and leave traceable records. People can engage in private communications and yet have no other party know who they are, but that's different to anonymous transactions. Each party in a private communication can trace the other one. In a series of interviews, Wright mentioned that before he stopped posting as Satoshi Nakamoto in 2010, he engaged in discussions with individuals like Eric Voorhees of Shapeshift. Eric Voorhees wanted a coin that's impervious to government interference, However, Bitcoin's change of digital signatures posed a challenge, as it allowed transactions to be traced back to an identity. And Wright believes that this was the real reason why BTC developers implemented segregated witness, SegWit, in 2017. They separated the digital signatures from the main transaction layer. With SegWit and the Lightning Network, they aim to add layers of obfuscation to enable anonymous transactions. We have discussed how the BTC developers removed digital signatures from the base transaction layer in a previous article and video. The problem in 2017 was figuring out how to scale Bitcoin, but after SegWit's implementation, Bitcoin could still barely process more than 7 transactions per second. So the only thing that does make sense is that the people behind the development of BTC are actually working towards making BTC more anonymous. Starting from 1 minute 23 seconds in the video funded by John Dillon and produced by BTC developer Peter Todd, the video says, "We have an alternative to increasing the block size. Off-chain transactions. You'll still use the blockchain for large transactions, but small exchanges will be handled by payment processors, which means small purchases like your morning coffee don't clog the whole system."
We have an alternative to increasing the block size: off-chain transactions. The block size stays the same, and mining stays decentralized. You'll still use the blockchain for large transactions. Small exchanges will be handled by payment processors, which means small purchases like your morning coffee don't clog the whole system up.
The same narrative is echoed loudly by small blockers like Samson Mao. He's a former strategy officer at a company called Blockstream. And he said in 2016, "Bitcoin isn't for people that live on less than $2 a day." Let's clarify the terms on-chain and off-chain transactions. On-chain transactions are those conducted and recorded on the Bitcoin blockchain. Conversely, off-chain transactions imply that transactions will not occur on the Bitcoin blockchain. However, this concept raises a critical question. Does this approach align with the original vision of Bitcoin? If we refer to the Bitcoin white paper, Satoshi Nakamoto defined the purpose of Bitcoin as this: it's for global e-commerce and for small, casual transactions. Clearly, the inventor of Bitcoin envisioned it to enable people to engage in small, casual transactions, akin to purchasing a cup of coffee. Interestingly, the propaganda video produced by small blockers suggests that such small transactions should not take place on the blockchain. At this point, then, it is of interest to note that as early as 2013, some people were already trying to make Bitcoin anonymous, and they were trying to subvert its mission of being able to facilitate commerce for the internet and to do small, casual transactions. Who is John Dillon? Is it true that he is from the CIA? Why would he be prioritizing anonymity, though? From what we see about Peter Todd's information about John Dillon did not say that he was operating under the authority of any intelligence agency. It is possible that he presented himself as having connections to the CIA to pique the interest of Bitcoin core developers and make them more receptive to his requests. It is also possible that John Dillon represented the interests of organized criminals who first started using Bitcoin for illegal drugs, weapons, counterfeit goods, and human organs because they thought that Bitcoin allowed them to be anonymous. They have the motivation to change Bitcoin to make it more useful for crime. After all, law enforcement closed the Silk Road website in 2013 using the data from the blockchain to track the movement of Bitcoin between Silk Road users and identify the website's operators. Perhaps then, John Dillon represented criminals who wanted to use Bitcoin for crime. This aligns with a desire to convert Bitcoin into an anonymous cash system. One significant development associated with John Dillon is the implementation of the Replace by Fee, RBF. It's a feature in the Bitcoin Core protocol. Here is Peter Todd announcing that someone wanted to implement Replace by Fee for a reward. And here is John Dillon saying that he paid Peter Todd to have it implemented. In simplest terms, Replace by Fee, RBF, is a feature that allows a sender of Bitcoin to replace an already sent transaction with a new one that includes a higher fee. And this is useful if the original transaction takes too long to get confirmed because the fee that's offered to the miner was too low. Increasing the fee makes the new transaction more likely to be picked up and processed by miners faster. As a consumer, I consider this too ridiculous even to consider. Can you imagine if Visa or MasterCard asked you to negotiate your processing fee for all your transactions on a daily basis? That's tiresome. Instead of miners competing to keep transaction costs down for their users, this feature makes consumers compete by bidding higher transaction fees. Further, RBF is again trying to solve a problem that would not exist if the block size were enlarged so that transactions would not get stuck and waiting to get processed in the first place. Now, setting aside the merits and drawbacks of Replace by Fee, it's crucial to highlight that an unverified individual settled such a contentious, significant issue simply by paying a Bitcoin developer $500 to implement the feature, regardless of the needs of other Bitcoin users. $500 seems modest for altering a system designed to serve as a global cash system. The fact that an anonymous person on an online forum could sway Bitcoin's trajectory should be alarming to everyone, because it opens the possibility of Bitcoin developers being susceptible to corruption. The Bitcoin developers are entrusted as the primary guardians of the Bitcoin protocol, expected to shield it from harmful changes. Ideally, determining what is detrimental to Bitcoin should be guided by the Bitcoin white paper and Satoshi Nakamoto's writings, because that is where the inventor wrote about Bitcoin's mission and its guiding principles. This should raise significant concerns now that we know the susceptibility of Bitcoin developers to accepting relatively small bribes. If developers were receptive to a $500 offer from an anonymous person to modify Bitcoin, imagine then the influence that wealthy individuals and corporations could exert with substantially more significant sums of money. Let's fast forward over the years and see how wealthy and powerful companies have now come to dominate and control the BTC ecosystem while looking at the money they've invested in the BTC core developers through a chain of companies. It is essential to understand what this chart tells us for us to gain insights into the mix of influence, power, and motivation that are at play in BTC. Here, we see that the Bitcoin Genesis block was established in 2009. By 2013, Bitcoin Core, the protocol used in BTC, was managed by the Bitcoin Core developers. In 2014, some Bitcoin Core developers founded Blockstream. The original members included Adam Back, Gavin Andresen, Vladimir Vanderlaan, Peter Woolley, Greg Maxwell, and Austin Hill. Segregated Witness, SegWit, was implemented in the Bitcoin Core protocol in 2017. But it is imperative to know that SegWit was already proposed in 2015, as this GitHub commit shows. In 2017, the big blockers, among them Craig Wright, saved the legacy Bitcoin protocol from being altered by segregated witness forever by carrying on working with it under a different name called Bitcoin Cash. After having saved the legacy Bitcoin protocol from SegWit, some big blocker developers also wanted to make further protocol changes, one of which was called CTOR, and this tried to reorganize the order of transactions. And again, for the second time, there was a group of people led by Craig Wright who saved the legacy Bitcoin protocol from being altered forever to a change that they deemed had no basis from the Bitcoin white paper nor from the writings of Satoshi Nakamoto. Having avoided segregated witness and changes like CTOR, the legacy Bitcoin protocol continued under a new name, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, with its ticker symbol BSV. Since 2018, Craig Wright, along with allies like Calvin Ayre and Stefan Matthews, worked with tens of individuals and companies to have Bitcoin Satoshi Vision restore the Bitcoin protocol on which it runs to as close as they could to the original version Bitcoin 0.1.0, the one without the block size limit. It is also paramount to mention at this stage that the Bitcoin Core developers removed opcodes from the BTC protocol. This prevented BTC from being able to perform smart contracts, which are self-executing agreements that run on a blockchain. Without this, Vitalik Buterin felt that he needed to start another blockchain, Ethereum, to be able to provide smart contract solutions. The BSV developers restored the opcodes, and today the BSV blockchain can perform a variety of tasks, including being able to perform smart contracts that can automate various tasks such as escrow payments, voting mechanisms, and token issuance. Here we see that early investors in Blockstream included major tech companies like Microsoft, PayPal, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple, and Google. Then there were also financial institutions such as AXA, Tether, and Bitfinex. We've also got Digital Garage, which is linked to Dorsey's Block and Fidelity. MIT Media Labs has been donating to the Bitcoin Core developers from funds received from Jeffrey Epstein. Given what we know about Epstein, it makes sense that he has an incentive to fund the development of BTC to make it more anonymous. Other notable investors include Facebook, Meta, Skype, and Spotify. In May 2016, Digital Currency Group acquired a majority stake in Blockstream. Confirmation of this can be found here. As you can see, DCG's portfolio includes companies, cryptocurrency exchanges like Bitflyer and Coinbase. You've got services like BitGo, an institutional staking, custody, and trading company. You've got BitPay, which is crypto payments, and even the Brave browser. They also own financial institutions like Circle, which is the creator of USDC, Grayscale, which is in asset management, and Kraken, another crypto exchange. DCG also owns companies like Ledger, the company that makes the hardware wallets. Lightning Labs, they're a company making Lightning Network solutions. They even own Ripple, the company behind XRP. You've got Shapeshift, the company started by Eric Voorhees, and now you've got Sam Altman wanting to start his own WorldCoin. And you've also got Zcash, which is an anonymous coin. The funding for Digital Currency Group comes from entities like iFinex, the owner of Bitfinex, the crypto exchange, and Tether, which is accused of inflating the market with USDT, a stablecoin that it prints. And as we can see here, it is backed by companies like MasterCard. The involvement of these diverse investors suggests that Bitcoin developers face a conflict of interest. Being the stewards of the Bitcoin protocol, the influx of millions of dollars from sources with varying agendas could potentially compromise their objectivity. Many investor companies benefit from maintaining the status quo. For example, Bitcoin's potential to disrupt MasterCard and American Express profits could incentivize these companies to prevent Bitcoin from becoming an effective payment system. The Digital Currency Group also owns and invests in companies like Lightning Network and Liquid, which are purportedly necessary to enhance Bitcoin's transaction capacity. It becomes abundantly clear that many of these companies, primarily under the same parent company, Digital Currency Group, have strong incentives and investments in technologies and business models that are not aligned with Bitcoin's core principles. Their investments in these technologies began as early as 2014, and this is why they took measures to ensure that the Bitcoin block remained small and incapable of handling millions of transactions as Bitcoin should. Keeping the block size small justifies their entire rationale for investing in these technologies. They recognize profit potential, and for that potential to materialize, Bitcoin must appear reliant on these solutions to function adequately. In July 2015, someone posted a picture of a sketch drawn on a paper towel. It was titled "The Blockstream Limit Debate" in one picture. I cleaned up the photo for better visibility. Considering our discussion on Bitcoin's history, this simple-looking diagram helps illustrate why BTC has been constrained, effectively preventing it from functioning as Bitcoin. This constraint serves the interest of small blockers and those who benefit from limited block sizes, aiming to extract value from users who simply want to use Bitcoin as intended. To explain the meaning of this drawing, the upper part of the diagram represents Satoshis, the smallest units of Bitcoin, being transacted. So it shows transactions flowing down a river from people worldwide, like water from the mountains. By maintaining the 1 megabyte block size limit, the BTC core developers, Blockstream, and their owners and investors have essentially constructed a dam on the Bitcoin BTC network. This dam severely restricts the flow of transactions, or Satoshis, from passing through easily the network. The presence of this dam results in Bitcoin becoming costly to use, causing transactions to slow to a trickle. At the bottom of the dam are animals that have died of thirst. They symbolize many Bitcoin users who suffer from being deprived of Bitcoin's economic benefits. By restricting the size of Bitcoin's blocks, Blockstream and its investors are knowingly causing congestion. However, they obscure the truth that they are the ones perpetuating this congestion problem. Claiming that Bitcoin is unable to scale, they present alternative blockchain solutions such as the Lightning Network and various sidechains or off-chain systems. And in this diagram, Blockstream and its investors are represented by the figure, the person on the right, profiting significantly at the cost of everyone else's expense. Consistent with what we expect Satoshi Nakamoto to do, Craig Wright has been a prominent figure in advocating for big blocks, aiming to maintain the original vision of Bitcoin. Since 2017, he has spearheaded a coalition of individuals and companies focused on utilizing the legacy Bitcoin blockchain and reverting the protocol to its initial design. The endeavor involved eliminating the block size limit and reinstating the opcodes removed by BTC developers. And currently, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, BSV, stands as the sole implementation operating on the original protocol and design of Bitcoin. Craig Wright has announced his intention to pursue legal action against those who misused Bitcoin in its BTC phase and continue to promote BTC as if it represents the original Bitcoin. In 2020, Wright authored a blog article titled Forking and Passing Off, in which he wrote, and I quote, "As the sole creator of Bitcoin, I own full rights to the Bitcoin registry. People can fork my software and make alternative versions, but they have no rights to change the protocol using the underlying database. I was explicit when I said so by putting forward reasons not to fork the database, yet both Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin ABC, global partnerships under law, have sought to use my database without authority. Rather than seeking licenses, they have sought to attack my character and impugn me. This year, I am taking charge and control of my system. Those involved with the copied systems that are passing themselves off as Bitcoin, namely BTC, or Core Coin, and BCH, which is Bitcoin Cash, are hereby put on notice." End of quote. Craig Wright maintains that while forking the Bitcoin software to develop alternative versions is permissible, it should be done under a distinct project name and not as Bitcoin. He argues that the BTC developers and Blockstream, by forking the Bitcoin protocol and continuing to represent it as the original Bitcoin, have strayed from its foundational vision. They have appropriated its blockchain, which is essentially a record of Bitcoin's transaction, which belongs to Bitcoin, the real Bitcoin, treating it as their own creation, despite lacking explicit authorization from Satoshi Nakamoto for such use. Following Craig Wright's assertion for his rights as the creator and inventor of Bitcoin, the Crypto Open Patent Alliance, Copa, was established. Copa aims to forge a union of individuals and corporations amalgamating resources from powerful and wealthy groups. These members advocate for BTC as the legitimate Bitcoin, although some may be unaware that BTC's evolution contradicts the vision and principles Satoshi Nakamoto outlined in the Bitcoin white paper. Copa's roster includes BTC developers who have enacted modifications in alignment with Blockstream, as well as its parent entity, Digital Currency Group. This network extends to several affiliated companies such as Kraken, which is with Jesse Powell, Coinbase, which is with Brian Armstrong, OKCoin, you've got WorldCoin, which is with Sam Altman, you've got Meta, the owner of Facebook, and you have MicroStrategy with Michael Saylor. The insights shared in this video illuminate a critical truth. Bitcoin, as represented by BTC today, starkly contrasts with the original vision outlined by Satoshi Nakamoto. This divergence extends beyond technicalities, embodying a departure from the fundamental principles and mission detailed in the Bitcoin white paper. Key to this transformation is the role of BTC developers, who have accepted funding to implement changes that veer BTC away from Nakamoto's blueprint, favoring a direction towards anonymous transactions and higher fees. This shift, influenced by the very industries that Bitcoin aimed to disrupt, raises serious questions about its future trajectory. As the Copa versus Craig Wright court case looms in London this February 2024, the direction of Bitcoin's evolution hangs in the balance. This case is not just a legal battle, it's a clash of ideologies about Bitcoin's true essence. My intention in making this video is to equip viewers who care about the direction of Bitcoin with crucial information ahead of this event. This video seeks to stimulate reflection on the two principal Bitcoin implementations: BTC, which is characterized by its emphasis on anonymity, high fees, and ongoing modifications to the Bitcoin protocol, and BSV, which aims to maintain Nakamoto's original concept of a practical, affordable global cash system that offers a balance of privacy and accountability on a stable protocol that undergoes minimal changes, providing a solid foundation for future developments. As viewers weigh this information, the hope is to inspire a considered evaluation of which version, BTC or BSV, truly embodies what Satoshi Nakamoto envisioned for Bitcoin, irrespective of the debate over Craig Wright's identity. This decision transcends mere technical aspects. It is about the direction of our economy, property, finance, and money. Should our future be shaped by a select group of wealthy individuals and corporations making Bitcoin dependent on their products and their services for any significant utility? Or should it be a Bitcoin that empowers everyone with access to a nearly free, rapid money transfer system that's accessible even to the poorest in the world? And if you align with this, then you grasp Satoshi's vision for Bitcoin, which is embodied in the Bitcoin SV, BSV implementation. This video aims to demonstrate that despite the conflicting narratives about Craig Wright, he is the most fervent advocate for Bitcoin's original mission and purpose. It's great to know that you've watched this video to the end. I hope that it was of great value to you. Before we finish, please like the video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so you can be notified when I release the next video. I want to encourage tipping with BSVs so that people can support the content that they like. Apart from rewarding content creators, the amount and frequency of tips can eventually be used to index and find high-quality content worldwide. So by tipping a content, you are also recommending it to others by allowing it to be seen on lists of highly tipped content. I encourage you to create your own creative works too, and have people tip it. This way you can earn small amounts in BSVs. They might eventually add up to something substantial in the near future. Consider tipping this video in BSV by using the QR code below. Likewise, you can also tip the song that I used at the start and end of this video using the middle QR code. I recorded the song about 10 years ago just for a hobby. I use it now to ensure that I don't have to worry about copyright or use restrictions for this video. I'll inscribe it as an ordinal later on, and if you've tipped it, you can download the entire song and you have the right to store it on your device and listen to it whenever, forever. You've got the receipt, which is basically the transaction ID on the blockchain, so you can always prove that you've got rights to it. The QR code on the right is to tip the graphic that's titled Blockstream, a common enterprise. The tip does not go to me, but it goes to the Bitcoin address provided by the creator of that image, Twitter user @a_eagle, who released the image under Berkeley Blocks group. I have already tipped the image too, using tips that I've received from people who watched my previous video to thank Berkeley Blocks group for putting together the valuable information depicted in their diagram. Visit us at bsvsearch.com, where you can buy, sell products and services in exchange for BSVs. Cheers. Bye-bye.